Wilkesboro, North Carolina 14-year-old April has been forced to grow up faster than most girls her age.
Her mother was in and out of jail for different petty crimes. Her father was in jail for manslaughter, so she really didn't have them to depend on.
With her mom and dad out of the picture, her grandparents, Lily and Aaron Barber, step up to the plate and adopt her.
Aaron was 83, Lily was 77. It's difficult enough to keep up with your own child when you're younger. It had to be extremely taxing for the grandparents to keep up with their granddaughter.
But the Barbers have every intention of raising April as their own.
They went to church every Sunday. They instilled education for April.
It was a very strict environment. And I think the reason for that was the fact that they didn't want to see what happened to April's mother happen to her.
And April seems to be responding. Her name consistently graces the honor roll, and she even joins a summer job training program at her high school.
She wanted to work, be able to obtain spending money for herself, and I think that's all part of maturity, part of accepting responsibilities.
Things are looking up for the pretty teenager until she's on her way home from a training session. A passing man strikes up a friendly conversation. His name is Clinton Johnson.
He was smooth talking, sort of gentleman, had a way to say the things that most young girls want.
What was unusual about it is that April was 14, he was almost 30. Therein lies the problem. For her as a young teen, this was exciting. He knew better, but obviously this was not an issue for him.
This is the first of many lines that Clinton and April will cross in the name of love.
He was a very manipulative, seductive individual that preyed upon the needs and wants and desires of a child.
And there's no turning back once she devotes her life to it.
I think April would do anything for her man and to get the future and the family she wanted.
14-year-old April Barber is smitten by the charms of older man Clinton Johnson, who flirts with her outside her high school in Wilkesboro, North Carolina. He's almost 30, but that doesn't stop him from trying to seduce the child.
There's a connection, there's an attraction. He made her feel beautiful, made her feel special. And for a girl of that age, just when you're coming into your womanhood, that is everything.
Clinton was able to prey upon those desires, those wants, those needs, and he recognized it and he used it very well.
The fellow Wilkesboro native is a carpenter and likes to work with his hands. And when he turns on the charisma, April quickly falls under his spell. While she does her best to follow her grandparents' rules, the aging couple doesn't have the energy to watch her every move.
Word had gotten back to Aaron and Lily that April was dating a 29-year-old man, and they weren't happy with it.
The two begin spending more time together, and as the summer comes to an end, they take their relationship to the next level.
She's now in love. It was a full-out boyfriend-girlfriend relationship, including the physical aspects. They were intimate.
We're talking about a 14-year-old being in a sexual relationship with a 29-year-old. So this is not about a mutual sexual relationship. This is about an adult male having sex with a child.
She can't get enough of her new lover and tries to see him every moment she gets, even when she's supposed to be in school. Her grandparents, Lily and Aaron, are none the wiser that she is cutting class because she has help from an unlikely source, her mom.
This one time her mother was out of prison, Clinton would provide a little bit of cash to her mother, and in turn, for that, she would sign a permission slip for April to be absent from school.
April's mother could have been such a powerful influence on her daughter's life. Instead, she chose to enable this very dangerous liaison.
8 months go by and April begins taking more risks with Clinton. And she suspects that all their running around has caught up with them.
April was starting to feel some of the initial symptoms of pregnancy. She was happy that she was pregnant by this adult.
Clinton was very excited about the child. He was welcoming the good news.
Though she's experiencing the morning sickness that comes with being pregnant, 15-year-old April is too naive to imagine the challenges that come with raising a baby.
She wanted to have what she didn't already have. So she had her man, now she was having his child. So to her, in a teenage romantic mentality, this was a beautiful thing.
She wanted to keep it a secret from her grandparents, knowing that they would be devastated and upset about that. So she tried to hide it.
But the teenager isn't able to shut down the gossip mill in close-knit Wilkesboro.
They already had gone through this situation with April's mother, who had April when she was a teenager. So they didn't want this to repeat itself.
When the youngster's nausea continues, her grandparents' suspicions come to the fore.
The Barbers are adults. They figured out that something was up with April. They confronted her about the pregnancy. Of course, this did not go over well.
Now that her secret is out, April tells them she's having her baby. But her grandparents are having none of it.
They gave her an ultimatum. They told her either she had to abort the child or they were going to have Clinton brought up on charges of statutory rape.
April's mama bear instinct kicks in when faced with two impossible choices.
The most important thing in her life was, how can I make this work? How can I save my baby? How can I save my relationship with the man that I love? What do I do now?
That same night, April breaks away to meet up with Clinton and break the bad news. And just like his younger girlfriend, he's furious that Lily and Aaron could be so callous.
He really wanted this child that April was having and saw the grandparents as being impediments to this happiness.
Backed against the wall, they come up with a plan.
I don't actually think there was ever an option for them getting in a car, becoming Bonnie and Clyde, and running away. Clinton was having sex with a minor. Police would follow him forever.
In order for the couple to live there happily ever after, her grandparents will have hell to pay.
April and Clinton knew if they were going to be together forever, the Barbers could not be part of the picture.
The plan was for them to enter the home, into the bedroom, and kill her grandparents.
15-year-old Wilkesboro, North Carolina mom-to-be April Barber is desperate to keep her baby and her man, 30-year-old Clinton Johnson, all in the face of her grandparents' threats to turn Clinton in for statutory rape unless she terminates the pregnancy.
It wasn't an option to get an abortion. It wasn't an option to walk away from the man that she believed she loved. Devastation set in. The idea of helplessness set in.
They knew they'd had no choice. They had to kill the grandparents.
Together, the pair plots her grandparents' demise. April will swipe her grandfather's pistol and give it to Clinton, who will sneak into the house and gun down Lily and Aaron.
In the meantime, April is going to be tucked away in her room, keeping busy and staying out of the way.
By offering to get her grandparents' gun to shoot them speaks to how difficult this situation was for April and how she just wasn't thinking straight. This whole relationship had warped her mind.
The couple seem to have it all figured out. They will blame the shooting on a random robbery gone wrong. But guns are too messy, and the police will ultimately trace it back to them, so they shelve that scheme.
When the first plan didn't pan out the way they wanted to, April and Clinton came up with a second plan. This time, they would poison the Barbers.
The idea was to provide an insecticide that they would drink.
But when Clinton finds a bottle of insecticide, they discover a hitch in their strategy.
The insecticide had a really strong odor, and they felt that it may be detected by the Barbers if they were eating something, the smell would come through. They ditched that plan before they even attempted it.
They eventually come up with an idea that will make it seem like a tragic accident. A month after the blowout with her grandparents, Clinton brings over a milk jug filled with gasoline that April hides in her room, waiting for the right time to use it.
It was a quiet Indian summer night, early September.
The house is quiet as Lily and Aaron are preparing for bed. April sees the window of opportunity and makes her move. There's no time to wait for Clinton, who is at his home across town.
She took this milk container and began to pour streams throughout the house.
She sets the milk jug next to the sofa and pulls a lighter out of her back pocket.
Then she took a piece of newspaper, lit it with a lighter, and then dropped it on the floor. and it ignited.
In a flash, the flames travel through the house, setting everything in its path ablaze, including her cell phone.
Although this was a terrifying act, April's focus was on her baby and her man.
She takes the cordless telephone with her. She goes outside.
Lily is the first to smell the smoke. Aaron is quickly overcome by the fumes.
Once Lily realized that the house was on fire, she tried to get Aaron out, but she couldn't. She was 77, he's 83. It's not easy.
She crawls through the fire to the first-floor bedroom, determined to escape and get help.
This had to be a nightmare for Lily. You can't help your elderly husband out. You have to leave him just to get help. And you're already covered with burns, and thinking at the same time that April's in there, her baby.
Lily was frantic as that fire was engulfing the house. Lily thought for sure she was going to die in that burning house.
Outside, April is in shock over what she has done.
The outcome, the aftermath, I don't think had set in. I don't really truly believe that she was thinking about the consequences. The accelerant had moved the fire rapidly. Within the matter of minutes, the whole home was engulfed.
The flames rising from the house light up the neighborhood, and a pair of good Samaritans takes notice.
They came over and they asked her why hadn't she called 911. She said that the phone wasn't working, that the fire had maybe destroyed the lines, so they offered to let her use their phone, which she did.
It's really ironic that here April helps to set the fire, but she also calls 911. She loved her grandparents, but it appears she loved Clinton and, of course, her baby even more.
When she comes back to the scene, she finds a crowd gathered on the front lawn. She weaves through the chaos and can't believe her eyes.
She sees that her grandmother has made it out of the house.
Lily had found her way to a first-floor bedroom window and crawled out of the window to get herself to safety.
After setting her grandparents' house ablaze with them in it, Wilkesboro, North Carolina pregnant teen April Barber is standing outside watching the drama. She's done the deed to stop Lily and Aaron Barber from meddling in her relationship with older boyfriend Clinton Johnson.
April's focus was on her baby and her man. That's all she was thinking about.
But Grandma Lily has managed to escape.
She saw neighbors around her grandmother who had escaped the fire.
The terrified woman cries for the loved ones she believes are still in the inferno.
Aaron's inside, my baby's inside, save them. That was her concern, despite the fact that she had second-degree burns on her body and had had smoke inhalation.
April had to be thinking, what now? I think that would have been the most devastating thing, finding that Lily made it out alive and what was to come.
Grandma, I'm okay.
Just then, fire trucks arrive with sirens blaring.
When they went inside the house, they found Aaron face down, covered with blisters.
He had succumbed to the fire, unfortunately, before they could get him out.
Lily is placed in an ambulance and is rushed to the hospital. The distraction from the attempted rescue allows April to sneak away.
Her next move was to use the phone to call her boyfriend Clinton, in which time she told Clinton that the house was in a blaze, and Clinton said that he would be there immediately.
Once Clinton arrived, he and April went over to the side and watched the fire. While they were standing there watching this house burn, it was sad and it was tragic. She's losing her grandparents, but at the same time, she was gaining the life that she wanted.
After battling the deadly blaze, the fire chief begins asking witnesses if they have any more information about what happened that night. When a neighbor points to April, she is standing arm in arm with Clinton.
The fire chief looked at April, and what was suspicious to him is that she didn't look like she had been in the fire.
That was of interest to him, interest enough that he did the initial interview asking about the background of what had occurred, how she escaped, and so forth.
April tells him that she was sitting in the living room watching TV when she saw a spark behind the set.
She picked up the cordless telephone and ran out of the house with the idea that she was going to call the fire department without notifying her grandparents that the house was under fire.
He gets the sense that something is not right with her story, and he vows quietly to tell investigators about the odd couple. Authorities take April to her next of kin, a great aunt who lives across town. Meanwhile, Clinton makes himself scarce and goes home to wait for April's call that their life as a budding family can finally begin.
April and Clinton at that point felt that they had committed the perfect crime.
At the scene, investigators discover some evidence that isn't jiving with the youngster's story.
The first thing they found in the charred home was the smell of gasoline. In addition to this, they saw the pour pattern on the carpet. And to even further their hunches, they found a plastic milk jug next to the couch, which smelled of the fuel.
This was not an accident. This was deliberate. So now the picture changes. Now you have something that isn't so benign that has now become a crime scene.
Police delve deeper into April's account.
At 3:30 a.m. that next morning, the sheriff's department made a visit to Aaron's sister's house to talk to April. Investigators found that April was very calm and collected for a 15-year-old, given what had happened. She was polite and all, but she wasn't very emotional after the fact that she went through a fire.
But after several hours of grilling, April cracks under the pressure.
As cold and calculating as this crime was, we have to remember she was still 15 years old. She was certainly no match against the detectives.
She confessed to the whole story. The plot of setting the fire, even to the role that her boyfriend Clinton played into setting the fire.
After tracking him down, April Barber and Clinton Johnson are both booked on a slew of charges, including first-degree murder, conspiracy to commit first-degree murder, and arson. And another murder charge is added when Lily Barber passes away a week after the fire. Through it all, Clinton's not as loyal as April hopes.
Although April had said that Clinton was involved in the crime, he said he only brought her the gasoline, that he had nothing to do with setting the fire.
No matter his denials, Clinton is found guilty by a jury and sentenced to 2 consecutive life terms plus 30 years in prison. April pleads guilty and is slammed with 2 back-to-back life sentences of her own.
While in prison, April gave birth to her son. He was then taken from her and raised by a friend in Greensboro.
Her son has appeared to have grown up to be a good citizen, and he does visit his mother frequently.
April has since expressed her remorse for the crime and calls what she did a stupid mistake made by a reckless teenager. She has spent her time in prison getting her education in hopes that she will receive clemency for taking responsibility for her grandparents' murder.
April can't go back and change the past, but she can certainly show that the adult that she is now is miles apart of the child who was part of those horrific actions in the past.
And the fact that this young lady didn't have the guidance, even though she was raised by her loving grandparents, but she was seduced by a predator. She lost her way. And for that, she may pay the rest of her life for those mistakes.
I think people who are desperate for love will do anything to get it. And April is no exception. There was something she was looking for, and Clinton just happened to be the person who came along at the right time.